Well, hello there and welcome to my workshop and welcome to part 2 of this bass guitar build. Now then, as you will know, I'm building this as part of the Jurgen Zoller Honorary Challenge. Now, Jurgen, a great amateur guitar builder, sadly passed away in April this year. And so his friends at the Guitar Builders Collective decided to run this challenge. And this is to build a guitar using what you've got, and I'm delighted to be taking part in this and to support the charity, the Leukemia Foundation, that his family are supporting. We're encouraging people to go and treat themselves to one of these fantastic t-shirts, and I would say go and get the bright red one so you stand out in a crowd. And I've got the 3D printed guitar. I mean, Jurgen produced some fantastic guitars and this is his 3D printed one. So just head along to the link in the description below and find yourself either a classic tee like this or a vest top or a sweatshirt. There's so much to choose from. Anyway, back to this build. Now in this video, I'm going to be doing a lot of the preparation of the wood ready for this project. And in actual fact, I spent the day in the workshop yesterday with the camera, and I'll show you what I did in a few minutes. But I would like to thank Dan, who made a comment on the last video, and he made a great suggestion for the design on the back of the guitar, which I think is really interesting. So we'll come back to that in a bit. I mean, I appreciate all of these comments that you send through. So yeah, it was really great. Anyway, I'm going to play you a segment of a new track that I've recorded called Fragments. And I've actually got it on Bandcamp. And I'll put the link in the description below. Now, any profits that I make from the sale of that track will go to the blood cancer charities. So if you like that sort of music, then please wander along and download the track. Anyway, I'm going to move out the way and show you what I did yesterday. Well, as you can see, I've got a workbench full of bits of wood being glued together, so let's see if it's all worked. Now this is the ash that will be used on the back of the guitar, so let's see how that looks. I'm going to have to tidy up the paper on the back there, but that's all right. I'll do that. But that looks really nice. Yep, that's quite a nice join on that. Really can't see it just there. Excellent. So that's one piece done. Next up we come to the Zebrano for the top of the guitar. So I'll just take that off there. Got that one there. These long clamps are really good. Right, take your weights off. And yeah, once again, that's a pretty reasonable join. I think once that's sanded down, that should look really nice. Yeah, this is about 7mm thick, this piece for the top of the guitar. And the reason I've done that is to allow myself a little bit of material that I can shape down, so I can get it slightly sort of thicker in the middle of the guitar and sort of slightly shaped down towards the end, tapering down towards the edges, because I think that's going to look really nice, and doing that might bring out some more of the grain. Unfortunately, the thicknesser chips some of the wood out, especially where there's a very heavy grain on it. So I'm hoping I'm going to sand that out, but yeah, otherwise it looks pretty good. Paper off. Okay. I'm hoping that I've rested the wood long enough. I'd left it for a couple of days before I glued it together, because I had trouble in the past where I cut two book matched pieces on the bandsaw and then planed them and basically glued them together all on the same day, and some months later they started to crack apart. I'm hoping that they won't, they're fairly stable, but we'll find out soon enough. Anyway, this is the block of mahogany. And again, that looks pretty good. I'll be perfectly honest with you, I made a mistake. I was given this wood from a friend in the village, and it's from an old fireplace. And in this particular slab, in the middle of it was a screw. And instead of taking my time to get the screw out, I bashed it out. And in the process, took a huge chunk out of the wood, when in actual fact, I only needed to have taken that little piece out there. So unfortunately, I wasted that piece in the middle there. But because I'm gluing two sections together here, I've got around the problem. But it's one of those things. Just if I was to take care at the beginning, then wouldn't have that problem. Right, so I'm just going to tidy up this wreckage, and then I can get on with guitar building. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that I'd had a comment from Dan who'd made a suggestion about the design of this curve, and I think he's got a real point. Basically what he was saying, it sort of jars when it hits the side of the guitar here, and perhaps there a little bit as well, and he's saying, could I not change that slightly so that it blends in with the curve of the body around the waist of the guitar there. So here we are. I've got a blank sheet of card here, and I've been fiddling around, and I've bent this bendable plastic thing to something that I think perhaps more resembles what we're after. So what I wanted to do is to meet the waist of the guitar there, and just to come off that top horn a little bit more smoothly than it was. I hope you can see this is okay. It's obviously quite light on this card. So I'll be honest, when I did this, I did it on SketchUp. Now anybody who's used SketchUp knows it can be quite difficult to get nice shapes, especially when you want something that's quite sort of smooth and organic looking. Better to do it freehand if you can, but I'm not great at freehand. I think I'll try this. Now then, the only thing I've got to be careful of, I'm just wary of this, is the former that I've made. Not that it stops me changing the design. I think we're going to be alright actually. Yeah. So it's fine at this end. I'm going to have to carry on bending the wood a little bit more there, but I think that's going to be okay. So, right, without further ado, let's get this drawn in. And I've just got to hold that there. So we're bending from that horn, coming down around there, and I'm going to meet the side of the guitar there, and I think that is a much better shape. Now the other thing I've got to work out is where the pickups are going to go, and on a jazz bass I believe they're going to be, I've got one at the bridge, there isn't one right close to the neck, it's sort of in the middle there, but I'm going to look online, get some proper measurements and then draw that up. I'm also working on some designs for the bottom end of the guitar here, because you'll know that with my last electric guitar that I made, which was a hollow body electric guitar, I had this sort of structure inside where I've got a back block connected to this neck block, and I'm going to do the same sort of thing for this guitar. So obviously this is the neck block in this particular case, this nice curved piece, and I'm going to have I think some sort of curved piece on the back there, and the reason for that is so that I can retain the shape of this guitar before I stick it to the back. I think it's going to be quite important to have something to hold that shape in place, and it'll give it a bit more rigidity. And also this middle bar here, which will run across the back of the guitar, will be much thicker so that I can fix the pickups to it. So all I need to do now is to cut this shape out again. So knife, it's got a new blade in it, here we go. Right, there we go. There's the new shape. I must say, looks like a bit like a UK pound, doesn't it? I think I'll call it the pound guitar, this one. Right, so there we have the new shape. Thank you, Dan, for that suggestion. That's really brilliant. And I think it's going to fit nicely on this piece of wood. There's a big chip out of it there, but I missed that. And there's actually a hole, or a couple of holes on the other side, but I missed those. So that's going to be okay. The real challenge with this guitar is going to be here and here. This wood is very thin, and so is that. But obviously I've got the thickness of the ribs, the sides. So I think what I'm going to have to do is somehow cut it there and probably cut it there once I've got this, so the ribs effectively will join at these points. And again, I've got to really think about this wood on the side. I've had a suggestion that somebody said, why don't I use the mahogany for the sides, and I think that would look really nice, except I'm back to the problem that I've got to join. It's just dependent on whether I can get as an invisible join as possible, and I'm not sure about that, or whether the join is really going to worry us at all. I'd really like this guitar to look really nice, so and finished. That's the thing. I've actually cut some strips of sycamore, which would look quite nice in contrast with the mahogany. But of course, then will they then sort of clash with the back of the guitar? But then another thing occurred to me was that if I bound the back of the guitar with a darker wood, so you've got a darker wood binding, which between the edge and the back, would that look better? Decisions. I was having a rummage through my bits and bobs drawers. It's got all sort of guitar bits in here the other day, and I came across this bag. And inside this bag are a load of black bass guitar tuners. And I'm thinking to myself, how have I got these tuners? Because I'm not somebody who buys loads of stuff just in case I might need it. And then I remembered. Well, whoops, nothing's ever plain sailing, is it? I thought I'd ordered 2 aside tuners, but these are 4 in a row. These original ones are 2 aside. Yes, I remember now. I bought these tuners to replace the silver tuners on my bass guitar that I revamped, and mistakenly bought 4 aside instead of 2 aside. So I've got these lovely 4 aside tuners, and I've got a template for a 2 aside headstock, which isn't going to work, is it? And this is a use what you've got, and I've got these, so I need to make myself something that resembles a sort of a jazz bass headstock, although I don't want to copy it exactly, but it needs to be 4 in a row. I need to make a template. Now this is a drawing that I've lifted off the internet, and it's actually not to scale, but one thing I do notice is, and I've heard about this and read about this, that the jazz bass neck is quite narrow at the end. Now my bass guitar has got approximately, I think it's about 48mm width across the nut, whereas with a jazz bass you are looking at something much closer to, well, about 43, I believe, something along the lines of this little nut that I've got here from an old bass. And I think I'll go slightly narrower, but I'm not sure that I'll go quite as narrow as the jazz bass. Now this template here is 45, and I think, to be perfectly honest with you, that's probably what I'm going to work to. So let me cut this out and then put it on a piece of paper and see what I can do to design my own around it. Okay then, let's have a look. Now then, I actually think the size of this paper, even though it isn't to scale, is probably about the right length for me. This is the other bass headstock I've got, and so the nut's going to be there. It's a little bit longer, so as long as it enables me to fit the tuners, which I think it will, then I think that's probably about the right size. So I think it's a good starting point. So let me just roughly sketch around here. So I've used this paper template to get an outline. I've used my neck template to get the width of the nut there. So I've done that. I've marked on where the tuners should go. So that's good. So all I need to do now is come up with a new shape that's going to complement the guitar. And I'm sort of looking for slightly smoother curves here. If I can see if I can do something with this. I don't know, is it the pressure of being on film or the fact I'm just a lousy drawer? But I didn't like what I produced, so I've had another go. Let me show you. So I started off with this screenshot which I'd got from the internet, and from that I produced that, which I wasn't happy with. It's too organic. Looks like a worm, doesn't it? Let's be honest with you. So I've come up with this, which is hopefully a slightly more stylized version of this, and I think that looks okay. So I'm going to cut this shape out. Well, I've not made too much progress in actually building the guitar, obviously apart from making the top and the back and that block. But I do think I've made quite a bit of progress in trying to get myself sorted out, ready to start building the guitar. It's really important to get all these templates. I'll be honest, when I first started building guitars, I just wanted to get straight into cutting the wood. And it's only in the last few years that I've really appreciated the value of having templates, and how much easier it makes the whole process of making guitars. And to be perfectly honest with you, it's quite good fun making the templates, because you know, you're in the knowledge that if you screw up, it doesn't matter, you can just make another one. But it gives you a good idea of how the guitar's going to look at the end. Anyway, there's still plenty to do with this guitar, so I hope you'll stay with this series. Please don't forget to go along to the t-shirt shop and get yourself a Jurgen Zoller t-shirt. And also, please pop along to Bandcamp and download that track that I played earlier. I mean, you'll put it on your iPhone, and a few years down the line, you'll hear that music and you'll think, who on earth is that? But every bit of the profit that you pay for that will go to the blood cancer charities that Jurgen's family is supporting. So it's all in a good cause. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to send me your comments. As you can see, I really take note of the comments you sent me, and I do appreciate them, so keep them coming. I will see you soon. Cheers.